Beneath the veneer of skepticism, reality bears witness to chilling truths. In the haunting corridors of history, where shadows dance with undeniable evidence, remember this, the stories are true. Prepare for a revelation. Where the supernatural is stripped of fiction, and the unknown is laid bare, are you ready to confront the undeniable? The stories are true, and the echoes of reality await.
Ah, the City Varieties Music Hall, a venerable edifice regaining its faded splendour after a Victorian rebirth in our modern age. Within those hallowed walls, where the footlights once bathed upturned faces in their flickering radiance, strange phantasms now tread the boards when the living have departed. 'Tis said by the hall's very staff that eerie visitations are commonplace in the haunted hush after performances. Pianos, bereft of human hands, caress the midnight air with mournful refrains. Hollow knocks and thunderous bangs, as if from spectres vying for the stage, issue from the main bar when all is locked and shuttered. And a mysterious crimson-tressed bouncer is oft-seen policing the aisles during shows, her spectral presence auguring either rapturous success or downcast failure for that evening's entertainment. But strangest of all bewitchments are the disturbed portraits hung about the hall's chambers. Those staring visages, rendered in colourful oils upon the canvases, seem to warp and contort into frantic paroxysms of fear, as if afflicted by some dread force. The subjects' eyes bulge wild, their mouths twist in silent screams, shuddering brushstrokes bleeding across once placid features. As if some formless panic from the great beyond reached gnawing tendrils to scribble madness upon their captured countenances. Aye, the night watchmen relate witnessing such eldritch transfigurations when the auditorium lies quiescent and the moon's sickly luminance paints the velvet drapes. But worse, far worse, are the bodiless limbs reported in shadowed alcoves, pale, disconnected legs skipping up the back stairs in a perverse cavorting, disembodied hands clawing at the dusty air in lonesome, futile desperation. Why, one poor caretaker barely escaped unsummering his wits after falling asleep on duty, only to awake and behold a leering, severed feminine visage floating impishly above his petrified form. Oh, the harrowing night frights and baleful manifestations which lurk in that charmed music hall's eaves and lofts. Well might the stoutest of souls blanch spineless to think on what profane hoardings from spectral limbos might bear. Luck happen passenger across those accursed precincts when the midnight chimes sound their harbinger knell. Shuddering fen ghouls and skirling vampire hosts congregating to slake their nihilistic fevers upon the damned rafters and proscenia. Agah! The mind quails and sickens to ponder such path-borne immunities in their putra.
Hold tight for the next one.
In the depths of New York City, where the pulse of life thrums beneath the surface, ghosts linger like shadows in the alleys and whispers in the wind. The Ghosts of Greenwich Village scavenger hunt promises a dance with specters aplenty, yet venture farther uptown and you'll find yourself at the doorstep of the Dakota. This grand abode, standing sentinel on Central Park West, witnessed the macabre dance of Rosemary's Baby on its celluloid stage, but it also bore witness to the tragic finale of John Lennon's Earthly Symphony. In the realm of the living, Lennon regaled tales of a spectral mourner he christened the Crying Lady, a phantom he purportedly glimpsed amidst the shadows of the Dakota's halls. But in the shroud of death, he himself became a revenant, making spectral sojourns to both the staff and denizens of this historic edifice, even to his beloved Yoko Ono in the twilight between worlds. Amongst its storied corridors, the Dakota has harbored luminaries such as Lauren Bacall, Judy Garland, and the lyrical genius of Lennon. But beneath its illustrious facade lurks a darker narrative, the legend of the Crying Lady. Whispers weave through the tapestry of time, painting the Crying Lady as a specter born of sorrow, a woman ensnared in the gilded cage of opulence. Legend spins her tale as that of a once vibrant beauty, ensconced in the opulent chambers of the Dakota's upper echelons. Married to a titan of industry whose pursuits kept him tethered to distant lands, she found solace only in the silent company of her ornate abode. Yet, as the hours stretched into eternity and the echo of her husband's absence reverberated through the hallowed halls, loneliness descended like a shroud, ensnaring her in its suffocating embrace. Desolation gnawed at her spirit, etching lines of despair upon her porcelain visage until, like the fading notes of a melancholy melody, she became a ghost of her former self, a wraith doomed to haunt the corridors of the Dakota for all eternity.
Hold tight for the next one.
Gather round, dear friend, for I've a tale of intrigue and mystery to share, one that'll send shivers down your spine. Picture, if you will, the ancient abode of the Hassett family, a dwelling steeped in history and whispers of the otherworldly. So thick was the air with the presence of spirits and spectres that the Hassett's, brave souls they are, sought out none other than the dreadfully renowned television program Haunted Homes to bear witness to the eerie occurrences that plagued their residents. The Hassett clan spoke of strange echoes that danced through their halls, emanating from the very heart of their hearth. Paintings, innocently hung, took flight without warning, crashing to the floor in defiance of gravity's grasp. And mark my words, their loyal hounds, faithful companions though they be, dared not tread the cold depths of the cellar, a place where even the bravest soul might hesitate to venture. Now, it's a mystery as deep as the well in their cellar as to who or what lurks within the time-worn walls of this 350-year-old abode, once a bustling coaching inn in days of yore. Since the Hassetts made this ancient dwelling their own some 2 decades past, a chorus of eerie phenomena has echoed through its halls, chilling the very marrow of their bones. 'Twas the laughter of unseen children, the whispers of ghostly voices, and the mournful wails that drifted forth from the fireplace that first greeted the Hassetts upon their arrival. Footsteps, unbidden and unheard, traced phantom paths through the silent night, while portraits leapt from their perches, defying all reason. And lo, dark apparitions, as insubstantial as shadows in the moonlight, danced upon the walls, striking terror into the hearts of those who beheld them. One member of the household even awoke in the dead of night to the sensation of unseen hands, cold and clammy, shaking him from his slumber. And beware the cellar, my friend, for within its depths lies an ancient well, a gateway to realms unknown where even the bravest soul might find their courage falter. So, dear friend, heed this cautionary tale, for within the walls of the Hassett's home lie secrets that defy explanation, and terrors that linger long after the last ember fades from the hearth.
Hold tight for the next one.
In the annals of Boston's harbor lore, there exists a spectral figure shrouded in the hues of mourning, the Lady in Black. Her tale, spun from the threads of irony and enigma, resonates through the centuries, her demise steeped in the brew of violence and sorrow. It's a narrative that curls like tendrils of fog, intertwining tragedy and the inexplicable. Venture back to the mid-19th century, when Fort Warren stood sentinel upon George's Island, its stone walls echoing with the clangor of confinement and the whispers of despair. Completed in 1850, this bastion of defense served as both a prison and a crucible of strife during the Civil War and beyond. Enter Melanie Lanier, a woman ensnared in the tempest of wartime love and loyalty. Her husband, a Confederate soldier, found himself captive within Fort Warren's stern embrace. Determined to wrench him from captivity, Melanie embarked on a perilous gambit, a clandestine tunnel, a bid for freedom woven with threads of desperation. Yet fate is a fickle spinner, and the strands of Melanie's scheme soon unraveled. In the dim confines of the tunnel, tragedy unfurled its wings. A gunshot, a life extinguished in the throes of misguided liberation. Melanie, in a twist of cruel irony, had inadvertently become the agent of her beloved's demise. The courts, blind to the intricacies of love and desperation, pronounced their judgment, death by the hangman's noose. On that somber day of reckoning, Melanie Lanier, clad in the somber raiment of mourning, walked the final steps to the gallows. Her request for a simple black gown granted, she met her end, her spirit tethered to the earth by the weight of her unfulfilled love. Since that fateful day in 1862, whispers abound of the Lady in Black, her ethereal form haunting the ramparts of Fort Warren. She roams the shadowed corridors, her spectral visage a testament to love's enduring legacy and the price paid for its transgressions. Today, Fort Warren stands as a relic of bygone strife, its stones weathered by time and the echoes of history. Open to the curious and the intrepid, it bears witness to the spectre of Melanie Lanier, the Lady in Black, forever enshrined in the annals of Boston's haunted past.
Hold tight for the next one. Or perchance you've heard tell of Leeds Beckett University's Headingley campus. 'Tis a sight to behold, nestled amidst the verdant embrace of Beckett's Park, where ancient edifices whisper tales of yore. Since its inception in 1908, this venerable institution has stood witness to the ebb and flow of time, preserving echoes of days long past. Legend has it, dear friend, that spectral entities roam these hallowed halls in the dim recesses of the James Graham building, erstwhile a bastion of healing during the Great War. Eerie murmurs echo through its labyrinthine corridors. Bront Hall, too, harbours its secrets, with whispered breaths lingering in the stillness of its chambers. Even the vacant expanse of Macaulay Hall bears witness to phantom dialogues, heard by none but the unseen. But 'tis the Grange, eldest among these venerable structures, that holds court over a realm steeped in phantasmal intrigue. Once a monastic farm in the distant annals of the 1600s, it now stands as a testament to the spectral mysteries that shroud its time-worn visage. Many a soul, both present and erstwhile denizen, have borne witness to peculiar phenomena, unseen eyes that watch, ethereal whispers that dance upon the air, and spectral apparitions that flit through its shadowed halls. Curiosity, as ever the herald of discovery, led a brave band of souls to embark upon a ghostly quest, timed with precision 1 week ere the night of All Hallows Eve. Guided by the sagacity of Ian Crossland, custodian of spectral lore, and the intrepid spirit of Michael Craven, seeker of paranormal truths, they ventured forth. In the stillness of the night, amidst the ancient stones of the Grange, they bore witness to the unexplained, spectral clamour that pierced the veil of silence, and anomalies detected by Michael's arcane instruments, measuring the very fabric of unseen energies. Thus, dear friend, the veil betwixt the seen and unseen grows ever thinner at Leeds Beckett, where history and mystery intertwine in a dance as old as time itself. Hold tight for the next one.
You ever hear the one about that ghost girl haunting Archer Avenue outside Chicago? No? Well, let me tell you about Resurrection Mary. It was back in the dirty 30s when it all started. This young kid named Mary couldn't have been more than 18, 19 years old. She went dancing one night with her fella at the O. Henry Ballroom down in Willow Springs. They had themselves a fierce argument over something, probably something stupid like all young couples fight about. She got riled up and stormed out into the night, face flushed, arms swinging, didn't even take her coat. Poor Mary never made it very far. Some drunk Mick plowed right into her with his automobile. She got thrown into the ditch, and that was it for her. Just a crumpled heap in that little white party dress of hers. They buried her over in Resurrection Cemetery, but her folks didn't have enough scratch to buy a decent gravestone. Just a little flat marker with Mary inscribed. No last name even. It wasn't long after that when the stories started. Fellas driving along Archer would spot a young girl in a white dress trying to thumb a ride. Being gentlemen, they'd pull over and offer her a lift. She always accepted, quiet as a mouse, and gave directions taking them right by the cemetery gates. But as soon as they passed those iron gates, she'd simply vanish into thin air like smoke. Crazy, I know. Sometimes the girl would even show up inside the ballroom among the dancers. The fellas would take her for a pretty little spin around the floor until last call. When it came time to go home, she'd ask one of them to drive her to, you guessed it, Resurrection Cemetery. Vanishing act all over again. Even the Flatfoots got in on the act one night in the 70s. Some guy called them saying he saw a young girl trapped inside the locked cemetery, dress and all. When they showed up, the gate was busted open, and there were these tiny handprints on the bars like she was trying to break out. The thing is, nobody's ever actually seen Mary get out of a car and walk into that boneyard. She just disappears. So where does she go? Once is chance, twice is coincidence, but this has been going on for decades now. Me? I've driven that godforsaken road more times than I can count. Never did see nothing out of the ordinary. But I'll tell you this, I keep the windows rolled up tight and don't stop for nobody after dark. Not worth the risk of picking up any hitchhikers, especially that Resurrection Mary girl in her little white dress.
Hold tight for the next one. My dear friend, I must regale you with the peculiar tales I have lately uncovered about a certain village in Kent, a place so steeped in otherworldly happenings that it has earned the dread moniker the most haunted village in Britain. Pluckley, as it is called, lies nestled amongst the verdant fields and winding lanes you would rightly expect in that fair county, to gaze upon its thatched cottages, ancient church, and the bucolic river Bute flowing gently through. One could scarce imagine the spectral energies said to permeate the very earth, and yet the records boldly declare some 12 to 16 restless spirits are believed to stalk those narrow streets and woods. The minds of even the most steadfast locals must surely be occupied by tales of the screaming man, a piteous wraith who fell to his demise at the old brickworks. What agonized cries he must unleash upon the night air to chill the blood. Then there is the highwayman, that dark spectre of old who is said to appear as naught but a menacing shadow in the aptly named Fright Corner, where he was cruelly run through centuries ago. One almost pities the wretch, unable to shed his mortal coil even in death. But let us not neglect the poignant spectre of the elderly watercress woman herself. It is told she was overcome by fire sparked from her own pipe one wintry eve as she rested upon Pinnock Bridge. Those few brave souls who have espied her ghost describe a faint rosy glow where her ephemeral form lingers, puffing away into the blackness as she did that fateful night. Spirits clad all in crimson have their tales to tell as well in Pluckley, it seems. There roams the Red Lady, whispered to be a member of the noble Daring family, seen flitting through the shadows of St. Nicholas Church. Her white-cloaked sister shade treads the hallowed ground too on certain nights, or so it is murmured. Why, I am reminded of the poor tormented schoolmaster who met his own tragic ending by the noose. Despite his grim exhumed, witnesses claim to still make out his form in old coat and stripy trousers, haunting the schoolhouse grounds to this day. The curiosities stretch farther still, my friend. In the 1970s, a party of paranormal investigators was permitted to pass the night within St. Nicholas itself in hopes of capturing empirical proof of these strange hauntings. Though their evening proved eerily uneventful, upon taking their leave the next morn, the vicar made a passing comment that chilled their very souls, for he claimed to have no knowledge of the dog which had reputedly visited them throughout the night's long, lonely hours. With such a litany of phantasmic accounts, is it any wonder Pluckley has attracted an endless parade of ghost hunters, parapsychologists, and thrill-seekers to its environs? Tours and evening walks dedicated to witnessing these uncanny visions are now regrettably common. I would caution you to steer well clear for your own sake, yet perhaps that is mere foolishness on my part, birthed of childish superstitions unbefitting a man of science and reason. For what, after all, has modern empiricism to fear from the stuff of mere legends? Hold tight for the next one.
You ever hear the stories about old Ben Franklin haunting this city? I'm not talking about his legacy and all that philosophical society nonsense he left behind. I mean his actual ghost wandering these streets. They say he lurks around Independence Hall, where those crazy revolutionaries first started yapping about breaking from the crown. Can't really blame his spirit for hanging around there after playing such a major role. Then there's the tales of him nodding off at City Hall or drifting through the church graveyard where they buried him. I'll give the old man credit that simple gravestone is classic Franklin humility. But the kookiest stories come from over at the Philosophical Society's library. Way back in 1884, some librarian got knocked aside by Franklin's ghost, headed straight for the shelves like he was itching to dig into a new book. Even crazier are the reports of that big statue of him, the one out front in that damn toga get-up he was so fond of. Folks claim they've seen it straight up abandon its plinth and go dancing merrily down the street, like the statue has better places to be than keeping watch over Franklin's old book club. They'll tell you it moseys across town to Franklin's colonial digs or cuts loose at the local pubs, just like when he was in the flesh. Can you picture it? That marble version of old Ben doing a little jig in the road, heading off to throw a few back at the city tavern? Now I tend to doubt stories like that. But sometimes late at night when that statue is just a silhouette in the darkness, you could almost fool yourself into thinking its feet started shuffling. Knowing Franklin and his puckish sense of humor, though, he's probably just enjoying the final laugh from beyond the grave. Either way, the man who played such an outsized role in shaping this city You can't walk 2 blocks without seeing his fingerprints everywhere you look. The restaurants, companies, museums, it's all Franklin's Philadelphia when you get down to it. His spirit is still keeping a weather eye on this place, whether you believe in ghosts or not.
Hold tight for the next one.
My dear friend, I must relate to you an account so peculiar, so fraught with intimations of the spectral realm, that I can scarce believe the evidence of my own eyes and ears. You are no doubt familiar with the stately edifice of Blickling Hall in Norfolk, a grand estate which can trace its provenance back through the inky pools of centuries past. Yet few, I venture, are aware that this handsome example of Jacobean architecture, with its magnificently tended grounds and lush gardens most beguiling to the eye, harbours darksome secrets within its very walls. For you see, Blickling Hall has previously borne the infamous distinction of being deemed the most haunted dwelling in the whole of Britain. The root of these supernatural afflictions, by all accounts, can be traced to that most tragic of figures who once made her home upon these very grounds, the ill-fated Anne Boleyn herself. You will recall how this raven-tressed beauty, after failing to present her lord and husband Henry VIII with the male heir he so desperately craved, was recklessly accused of deceptions and debaucheries most foul. Her lovely head was promptly severed from its slender neck by the unmerciful bite of the executioner's blade on the 19th of May, 1536. And it is on each solemn anniversary of that dread immolation, the servants declare in hushed tones that Her Majesty's restless spirit manifests anew at Blickling Hall. A shrouded apparition swathed all in purest white, her severed neck exposed for all to behold, she is said to arrive in a funereal spectral carriage drawn by invisible horses. The spectre then glides up the hall's very steps to drift aimlessly throughout the premises till ruddy dawn scatters the shadows once more. But Anne's is not the only spectre said to haunt these corridors, my friend. For the former master of the estate, Sir Henry Hobart, having passed from this vale of tears in the 17th century from wounds sustained in a dastardly duel, is rumoured to linger on in grotesque unrest as well. One courageous groundskeeper confided to me that his faithful hound, a mastiff of stalwart pedigree, would ever refuse to set paw within the very bedchamber where the unfortunate baronet was laid to expire. The noble beast would instead plant himself at the threshold, hackles raised in warning, as if warding away some unseen terror. I myself, on the occasion of my last sojourn to these hallowed grounds, fancied that I espied a deathly pallor hovering in the shadows of the library annex. Though I turned my gaze away but briefly when I chanced to look again, the spectre had dissolved as softly as the tendrils of morning mist. So you see, my dear fellow, Blickling Hall clearly remains a retreat for the unquiet dead as well as the living. Should you chance to pay a visit there yourself, I urge you to steady your nerves against whatever eldritch frights may present themselves. For no matter what assurances the administrators may offer, that ancient place of majesty and dread is manifestly also a haunted one. Abandon all sense of skepticism, all ye who enter here.
Hold tight for the next one.
You ever hear about the Pierce place over in Massachusetts? Big old Victorian mansion out in the woods near Gardner. Place has quite the haunted reputation around those parts. It all started back when the original owner, Sylvester Pierce, had the 7,000 square foot home built for himself, his wife Susan, and their kid. Man had made his money in the furniture trade and wanted to live large. Hosted all kinds of high society types there: Calvin Coolidge, Bette Davis, P.T. Barnum, and even Norman Rockwell, you name it. Real swanky operation. Except within a week of moving in, Susan up and died. Some mystery illness they couldn't put a finger on. So much for their dream house. Pierce didn't stay a widower long, though. Not even a year before he took a new bride, some young thing named Ellen, 30 years his junior. They had a couple more kids together before kicking the bucket themselves years later. That's when the real trouble started. Pierce's 2 surviving sons started fighting like hell over the property and the furniture business. Jealousy, greed, you know the drill. Then the Depression hit, and that big house fell into disrepair when the company went under. The youngest boy, Eddie, tried running it as a boarding house for a while, but the place just kept soaking up more misery. Lots of sudden deaths in those years, a few murky at best. The haunts started piling up soon after. Every damn ghost story you can imagine has been tied to that place by now. Folks talking about seeing apparitions, hearing voices, objects flying off shelves, feelings of getting shoved around. Some even claimed to hear the sound of a lion's roar rattling the whole damn house at night. Rumor is, it's old man Pierce himself making all that ruckus from beyond the grave. As if he still pissed off his beautiful mansion brought so much heartache instead of the pride and comfort he built it for. You can't really blame him though, can you? Modern owners haven't fared much better either. I knew one poor wahoo Lillian who moved in with her husband without knowing the place's history. It didn't take long before the paranormal pisser started hitting the fan every which way. Hearing chants on the walls, seeing ghosts beckon her down halls, that whole fun bit. When some ghost hunter bunch asked the spirits who was running the show there, they straight up said, "Lillian clear as day." Can't get more blatant a warning than that to cut and run, if you ask me. Problem is, the Pierce place has turned into such a legendary haunt that folks just keep on going for the thrill of maybe catching a glimpse of something otherworldly. Bound to stir up old Sylvester's ire even more having his private spirits put on exhibition like that after all these years. Mark my words, someone's going to catch the brunt of that old man's anger sooner rather than later if they ain't careful.
Thanks for joining us on this eerie adventure. If you enjoyed the chills, don't forget to subscribe. More mysteries await. Until next time, thanks for watching and stay curious.